What does it feel like to be addicted to cocaine? So, if you are in a position where you can no longer drink without using, then you probably feel like a failure every single time you have a drink because you promise yourself you're not going to do it. You promise yourself it's just going to be a drink this weekend. And then, lo and behold, you're on the phone to the dealer or you go and arrange a bag and you feel like shit because you promise yourself this time it'll be different. Addiction is the most awful feeling because you don't want to admit that you've got a problem and you're riddled with guilt and shame. It's not the person that you ever thought you were going to be. There's a lot of self-hatred involved and a lot of false promises as well. And the more you promise yourself you're going to stop, the more you hate yourself. And it's a vicious cycle. So it keeps going on and on and on. You don't have to hit rock bottom to want to stop. You just need to get to a point where you've had enough, where it's not fun anymore, where you're doing it more often than you're not. And addiction's hard, like, because you don't just go through it yourself, but you drag others down with you. The people that you love, they go roped in, whether that's because you're lying to them or borrowing money or whatever it may be. But it'll get to a point where your mental health is massively affected. You don't want to leave the house anymore unless you're actually taking it. You'll get to the point where you won't do your housework, where you won't look after yourself, where you'll be buying minimal food, topping up gas and electric very rarely, so you're on the emergency, always running out of money, always borrowing money. You know, every part of you that used to be a good, decent person starts to fade away and you start to become a version of yourself that you don't recognize anymore. And it's the most soul-destroying feeling because at one point you knew that you were in a position where you could just have a drink and it wasn't a problem, you know, and you never thought you'd get to this point. Let's face it, we never think that we're going to get to that point. But that's how addiction feels, and it doesn't just happen overnight. It's a gradual thing, and it's okay to accept that you've got a problem. You don't need to call yourself an addict. You don't need to label it. The most important thing is that you accept that it's not bringing you any happiness anymore. And if you can get to a point where you realise that, then you're halfway there. If you get to a point where it's not fun anymore and you want to change, then you're halfway there. My advice would be just stop. Yeah, just stop. Cut your friends out, the ones that are doing it. If you're doing it at home alone, the best thing to do is to try and get as many recovery books as you can. Sober on a Drunk Planet is the one I read, and it's not just about drink, it's about coke as well, and it absolutely saved me. I read it when I was 5 days sober and clean, and it totally changed my mindset. It was really easy to read, and it's really important that you find your people. So you need to get on TikTok, look for recovery pages, things like that. There is a way out, guys, and life doesn't have to be like it is now.